been organised by the International Youth Delegation here in Bangkok. My name's Gemma Tillack and I'm from Australia. And in the year 2050, I will be 69 years old. So we are part of the youth climate movement that involves hundreds of thousands of youth from all countries across the world. We are here to sound the alarm to the world and declare no confidence on the road to Copenhagen. You will now hear from a youth representative from every continent about why we have sounded the alarm and issued this declaration.
Hello, namaste. I'm Anil Rimal. I'm from Nepal, and I'll be 65 by the year 2050. I feel Asian leaders, along with other LDCs, haven't taken a strong stand in spite of us being so vulnerable. Asia consists of a large number of poor countries. We're extremely vulnerable to climate change because most of our people have no means to adapt. The Hindu Kush Himalaya range, the third pole, stands as a water tower, sustaining millions and millions of people, and is already being impacted by climate change, jeopardizing the future of so many. The warmth of Earth is having serious impacts on the glaciers and glacial lake, the main source of Nepal's water resources. The rapid melting of snow peaks and glaciers is enhancing threats of glacial lake outburst flood through formation of glacial lakes in high altitudes. My people are experiencing the severe effects of climate change. This is happening now, not in 2050, and people are losing their lives, homes and livelihoods. We can't afford to delay global action. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Joshua Kahn Russell. In 2050 I'll be 66 years old, and I'm from the United States. My country has been a pariah of the UN for quite some time now. And this week, US inaction has been used as an excuse by other rich countries to kill off the Kyoto Protocol and even the limited gains that we've gotten through that. They're trying to rip out compliance and international top-down target setting in favor of replacing it with domestic industry-based target setting. The United States dragging everyone out of existing legal commitments is unacceptable. It's lunacy. Make no mistake, our future is being held hostage to interests that have consistently thumbed their noses at the international community and their obligations to the rest of the world. We have no confidence in these negotiations. This process has been polluted by self-interested corporations and nations looking to profit off of our crisis. They have been pushing false solutions that exacerbate rather than fix the problem. Not only are the targets set by rich countries weak, but they are actively deceptive and phony. Rather than representing actual emissions reductions, they contain unacceptable proportions of offsets, which do not reduce emissions and displace the burden back onto developing countries of the world. This is inexcusable, embarrassing, and outrageous. We say to the developed countries, stop your dirty delaying tactics. At these negotiations, our future is not negotiable. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Anna, and I'll be 64 in the year 2050. I'm from the UK, the birthplace of the Industrial Revolution. Young people all around the world in developed countries accept this historic responsibility that we have been given, and we are already working together to make our world a fairer place. Unfortunately, we do not see the same here at the UN. The youth ask, where is the spirit of togetherness? Where is the commitment from the developed countries? Who is willing to lead us out of this mess? At the minute, we see no one. Accepting responsibility means paying up. Developed countries must put money on the table. Finance is not a card to be played, it's a debt that we owe. If this does not happen, or it is not of the scale we need it to be, we will not see a deal in Copenhagen. We also still see emission reduction targets from developed countries that will get us nowhere near where we need to be to secure our future on this planet. The youth demand more. The targets from all developed countries are frankly stupid. We need at least 40% cuts by 2020 on 1990 levels to secure our future on the planet. Developed countries need to stop fiddling the numbers and start committing to real and tangible emission reductions. But it seems for anyone to do this requires someone to jump first. We have already heard that we cannot look to the USA for this. The EU claims to be a leader in these negotiations, but leading a losing pack is not saying much. Ambition does not mean doing slightly more than everybody else. Ambition means striding out strong. The youth from developed countries are ready to take these steps. Youth climate movements all around the world are striving to build a clean and just future. So now the question is, will our governments follow us?
Hello, I'm Paulina from Mexico, and I'll be 64 in 2050. Youth all over the world realize that climate change represents a threat to our present and our future, and are already working on implementing solutions. 39 days ago, my friend Sarah Svensson from Sweden and I started a 100 Days Moving Climate campaign because we felt the need to contribute to an ambitious, fair, and globally binding climate treaty in Copenhagen. We are traveling through 14 countries overland without flying, following the climate change negotiations and interacting with youth climate activists to strengthen the sense of belonging to the same global movement for change and sustainability. We are setting the example because we believe that revolutionary shifts in our lifestyles, habits, values, and thinking are needed as much as a good outcome in Copenhagen. Our initiative is just one of many inspiring and important climate projects carried out by youth around the world, from grassroots actions to lobbying in international negotiations. We are already doing our part, but we need the government to follow our lead and commit to a fair and equitable agreement in Copenhagen that responds to the latest scientific research and includes the limit 350 parts per million of CO2 in the atmosphere and 1.5 degrees Celsius of temperature rise, in order to safeguard the survival of all nations, peoples, and biodiversity on Earth. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Grace Mwarua. I'm from Kenya. I'll be 64 years old by 2050. When I left home, there was no water on the taps, there was power rationing, and food insecurity was almost being declared a national disaster in Kenya. I'm not alone in this, and most of you will agree with me, for those coming from developing countries, this is the case in most of the countries. And the fact that I'll go back home and have no good news for a country that is among so many other countries that are suffering is a hard fact for me to swallow. And that's why I'm here to warn you that you should give us a deal that is fair in Copenhagen. We fail to clearly understand why up to now we haven't seen the need to act on the urgency of the matter. The storms in India and the Philippines, the drought in Africa, the increasing heat-related diseases and illnesses, the rising sea levels, and the loss of glaciers. How long does it take for us to say yes or no to a rightfully asked question? We are just asking for a carbon-free future. Where will the youth be in 2050 if we don't give them a strong deal in Copenhagen? Time is running out, and the youth are ready to act, but we need the governments to take action as well. Today we sound an alarm that the deal will be no deal if we don't have ambitious targets set on the table, finances adequately provided for, nations committing to 1.5 degrees temperature rise and 350 parts per million, and as well giving priority to the respect of international equity and respect for the rights of the vulnerable communities. And this includes the youth, the women, and the indigenous groups. Others, then we are confirming that we want to have the increased droughts and fires and floods. We want to have stronger storms in the Philippines and other Asian countries, and more forest fires in Alaska. As well, we want to have the economic losses continuing in all our countries. In 2050, my children hold me accountable for the decisions that I make today. And today, I do want to hold all of us accountable for the decisions that are going to make in these negotiations. It's up to us to convince our leaders that we still can believe in them for a carbon-free 2050. Thank you.
Thank you. So in summary, today the youth have sounded an alarm to the world and declared no confidence on the road to Copenhagen. We believe the current negotiations are unlikely to deliver a strong, global, fair climate deal in Copenhagen. But we still have hope. We would never give up on our hope for a strong global deal because we have too much to lose. Luckily, we have a plan. We have a plan for how to secure a deal in Copenhagen that will be the first step to ensuring our survival. As you have heard, We must work to limit global temperature rise to 1.5 degrees. We must stabilise greenhouse gas emissions at 350 parts per million. We need ambition and leadership in the next few weeks of negotiations and back home in our own countries, especially from developed countries. We need developed countries to commit to unconditional, legally binding targets of at least 40% reductions by 2020. These reductions should be achieved by actions in our own countries, not through offsets. We need developed countries to provide funds, and lots of it. We need to make sure that the Copenhagen deal recognises and respects Indigenous people and local communities' rights and interests, and supports them as they continue to protect their forests and peatlands from the deforestation and forest degradation. Any deal must recognise and respect Indigenous people's rights and interests in accordance with the UN Declaration on Human Rights. If we do not get a strong deal in Copenhagen, we will face a painful future, with droughts, floods, loss of lives, loss of cultures. Our survival is in your hands. Most importantly, we need to work together. The world's youth are already working together to implement solutions. But the question is, you need to follow our lead. Thank you, everybody. We do have some time for some questions from the press.